Okay, so I'm sure we all know and love Cyberpunk 2077 that came out almost 4 years ago now. That's insane. And even though that game had a very rocky start with so many issues, and most developers would just leave it where it was and move on, CD Projekt Red really locked in and they made that game such a masterpiece within just a couple of years, which it should have been like that from the start, but we gotta give credit where credit's due. And as much as I love that game, this video is actually not about Cyberpunk 2077. We're gonna be covering its sequel, which is currently called Project ORION, and everything that you need to know. So lock in and let's get straight to this. First things first is something that a lot of Cyberpunk fans, including me, have wanted for a long time now, and that is multiplayer. CD Projekt Red has brought up multiplayer for their sequel, and they said, quote, "It almost writes itself, doesn't it? There must be thousands of players out there who are desperate to explore Cyberpunk's Night City with friends, engaging in RP, and battling to the death with all manner of augmentations and hardcore weapons." Which is pretty much saying that, of course, nothing is confirmed yet. We're in very, very early development stages of this game, but multiplayer is being thought about, which is actually a big step. And another tidbit of info is when they were making 2077, they wanted to have multiplayer in that game, but there were a few development issues, and they decided to frontline single player and the story elements, which is really smart. But they said that they want Project Orion to be everything they wanted 2077 to be, which means multiplayer is probably going to be a big feature of that game, which will be so much fun. Moving on from multiplayer, let's talk about some gameplay features that this game might have. First things first is cutscenes and movie sequences will be emotional and bursting with action. I'm sure most of you have already played Cyberpunk 2077, and if you have, you know how emotional and action-packed that game was. And even aside from the game, Cyberpunk Edge Runners was an incredibly emotional show, and I still haven't recovered from that. Next up, crafting mechanics will return from Cyberpunk 2077, which is pretty cool. There will be more open world events in Project Orion, which is actually really nice to hear. Cyberpunk 2077 was a great linear game with its open world elements, but I think they're gonna reverse it and make it a much more open world game with very good linear elements, if that makes sense. And this next one's a little interesting. It potentially has multiple maps, since they mentioned creating breathtaking worlds, and I don't know exactly what that could mean. It could almost mean anything, like we could be able to go to the moon, or it could be as simple as this game not taking place in Night City at all, which would be very interesting since it's been rumored in the past. And I don't know how to feel about that, honestly. I do think it will be really fun to see more of the Cyberpunk world, but I also have a deep attachment to Night City from the game to the show, so I don't know. And lastly, dialogue scenes and gameplay will merge seamlessly together, which literally means we'll just have more seamless gameplay, which is always good. Also, I'm sure we're all aware, but just in case, this game will not be about V at all, and it will be an entirely new character. And V might be a person like David, where they're an Easter egg and paid homage to in the game. And I know y'all are all asking, when's the game coming out? What's the release date? Blah, blah, blah. And trust me, I want this game as much as you do, but we need to give these developers some time to craft this up, so we don't have another 2077 issue where it was rushed out and we had a lot of issues. So bottom line is, we do not have a release date. It is currently in its very, very preconceptional development phase, which means there's a lot of time ahead for development and all of that to move forward. And the soonest we can maybe see this game is most likely late 2027 or early 2028, to be completely honest. Which seems like a very long time away, because it is, but a lot of these games are not coming out for a long time. And if it comes out anytime before then, I would be very worried, because that feels incredibly fast. GTA 5 might get delayed until 2026, which is insane. This might not come out till 2027 to 2028. And there's a ton of AAA games that are being worked on that might not see the light of day for a few years. But either way, I'm very excited for Project Orion. It has a lot of potential to be one of the best games of the decade, I feel like. And my only two requests from CD Projekt Red: have a insane soundtrack like 2077 had, and do not rush this game out, please.